In this video, I'm going to show you how to legally print money with webinars into your organic-led info business. And as I call it, it is a cash injection funnel. And I'm going to show you how to inject 5 figures a month into your info business. And who am I? Why should you even fucking listen to me? Well, my name is Gio Joachim. In the last 11 months, I've generated multiple 7 figures in info products for our info partners. And that's why you should listen to me. We've scaled one info business to 120K a month. We've scaled two to the high 5-figure a month range. And webinars, or our cash injection funnel, as we call it, has been a core mover of that revenue. Why? Because it is an exceptional way of selling people in a non-super salesy, non-high pressure way into your high ticket or even low ticket info product. So without further ado, let's get straight into this video, and I'm going to show you exactly how to step by step print money legally, of course, with webinars. So this video, when you look at a traditional kind of webinar print, you have a few ways you want to think about this. You have, of course, your traffic source, as you will do with any funnel, because if there is no traffic, there is no business, because you have nothing to sell to. This will either be through ads or it will be organic. You have to understand that you can do this either way. We usually, when we do our done for you services, do it with organic businesses because there's so much money to be there, and we make ads as a tool. And if whether you do organic or not, you should be using ads, right? So if you're ads only, of course you're using ads. If you're organic, you should be using ads as well to target your warm audiences. I'll show that in a bit. So you have your traffic source, ads or organic, so either paid or organic. That leads to a landing page. I'm going to walk you through in the overview of how the funnel looks, and then from there you'll be able to gather how we'll dive into the individual bits and pieces. You'll have the headline and you'll have an application page. I will talk about the specifics of this in a bit. Then people will go to a confirmation page, and then they will go to webinar, then they will go to money. Now, the one thing you may see, let me just move my mic because it is getting in the way. The one thing you may see is you can here, instead of sending money straight to the sending people straight to a checkout page, what some people will sometimes do is they will send them to a call first, especially when selling high ticket, and then that will go to money. Okay? Same way to achieve the same result, just slightly different. If you're selling quite high ticket, you can go and you feel more confident. You can send them to a call first. So the webinar can be a vehicle for generating a lot of calls. If you got the balls, if you're good at what you do in the webinar and you got big balls, you send them straight to the checkout page. But again, this is niche specific, offer specific. I am talking tongue in cheek. So you have some interesting things that you can do here. We're going to go step by step. So in terms of the ads or the organic and driving traffic effectively to this page, you need to understand this, is that you are going to be making content. You're going to be on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever. We prefer to use or work with people from YouTube who have big YouTube audiences, or at least just some kind of a YouTube audience. The reason is YouTube audiences convert much higher. They have a much better connection with you. The good thing is about webinars, though, is they can take even colder audiences that sometimes you can see on Instagram and TikTok, and they can turn them into very warm prospects. Why? Because what YouTube has that the other forms of social media do not have is the fact that YouTube has higher contact times, because the average video on YouTube is, let's say, 10-15 minutes. If you're making educational content, that can be 20 minutes up to an hour. Whereas on TikTok, Instagram, it's 15 seconds, 30 seconds if we're being charitable. So your organic, maybe from YouTube, maybe from wherever, 15, doesn't matter. The point is that you're driving this traffic and you're telling them, whatever your offer is, if you want to learn how I do this or how I teach this or how you can do this too, I'm hosting a free live class on X date at this location. Go ahead and sign up here. Cool? And then you send them to the application page. Now, I will say there's 2 types of webinars you can do. There are free webinars and there are paid webinars. paid webinars would be an example of the low ticket to high ticket upsell. Why this is important to understand. You may want to do a paid webinar if you are getting your traffic from ads and cold ads, that is. Why? Because this can liquidate the ad spend, meaning you will get some return on ad spend in the webinar phase. So getting people to the webinar won't only cost you money, because effectively what it's going to look like is going to be like this, right? If you're doing a free webinar, if you're going to spend money on ads, your kind of revenue or profit rather, this is zero. You're going to have to spend money first, and then when the webinar hits, you're expecting to make a lot of money, right? But the thing is if you have the low ticket offer, you can liquidate some of the ad spend, stay close to profitable, and then get that same growth, and you end up making a lot more money. In some cases, if you have a really good offer, maybe you're selling to an organic audience and you do a paid webinar, you can even make some money on the front end, and then you make a crap ton more. And so you're actually never going in the red. You're always making profit. And that is the ideal scenario. And where you may want to do a paid webinar is if you are, let's say, targeting a more sophisticated buyer, because the other downside of doing a free webinar is when you do free, you will most certainly get a lower show up rate. Okay? Why? Because people pay for, they take more seriously. And if they haven't paid, they won't take it seriously as much on average at scale. If you've got thousands of leads coming through your webinar every single month, that's something you need to take into account. So the free webinar, people may not, you'll get a lower show up rate. And so as a result, if you're doing a more sophisticated buyer, you want them to be bought in, because they will almost certainly not show up because they're busy. Paid webinar, they will buy a ticket. You frame it as selling a ticket. They'll buy a ticket to the webinar. Then they will be able to come. Another thing you can do is you can always do a free webinar. And this is what Alex Hormozi did, by the way, for his book launch. You do a free webinar. So it's a free event to maximize reach. Then you do a paid kind of upsell, so special ticket, paid VIP ticket at, let's say, $7. And by the way, a paid webinar can range anywhere from $27 to $97 for a ticket. If you're doing a much more sophisticated audience, an example of whom did this is Iman Gadzi, for example. I believe he sold webinar tickets for $199 or $197, if I'm not mistaken. And that's because he was targeting, that was for his 8FL offer, his higher ticket offer. You can go more expensive there. But again, that depends on your demographic, that depends on your brand, so on and so forth. But let's say you have a free event with a paid VIP ticket where they get some kind of a bonus, they get some kind of special when they show up. Maybe they get a special Zoom call. You'll do a Q&A afterwards or before or whatever, some kind of bonus that they can get. This will also help you make some more money on the front end and also liquidate ad spend. But again, you don't need to do this. And then you can even have then you have the main offer on the back end. So that's just a way that you can go ahead and liquidate some of the ad spend, is by doing a low ticket webinar, not doing it completely free. That being said, if you are an organic led business, and then oftentimes going free is a safe bet, because you're going to get more reach, more people to show up. And if you do the rest of the funnel properly, you will be able to, you'll be okay. You won't have a problem getting them to show up at a decent clip. So traffic, ads or organic, we've been speaking about this. How do you channel them to this page? Effectively, what you do is you put YouTube community posts out, which is something that not enough people do. You can do one a day, promoting the hell out of your webinar. If you have a webinar coming up, you start, actually, let's talk about the timeline. Why don't we? So when you're launching a webinar, you typically, if you're going to do this right, you're going to do this properly, you're doing, let's say, one a month, you want to spend the first 2 weeks, typically 2 weeks, promoting it. If you're going to really do this properly, 2 weeks promotion before the webinar, then obviously the webinar occurs, and then you have like a 3 to 5 day post webinar promotion. Okay. So 2 weeks webinar to the webinar, you're going to start promoting. You're going to start putting YouTube community posts out, maybe one every 2 days. When you're 14 kind of days away, you're not going to promote as much. You're going to be talking about it in your videos. So when you put out a video, you're going to say, somewhere within the first third of the video, so you can get a higher input. You're going to basically promote the webinar. You're going to say, okay, there's this webinar coming up, etc., etc. Live class, or I'm going to teach you X, Y, Z. You can sign up in the link below in the top of the description. The webinar. You put it out on your Instagrams, on your socials. You start running warm ads, retargeting ads. This is important, where you target your audience right now, which again, you can do that on YouTube. If you go to your Google Ads Manager and you go in and you have to create a custom audience of your past YouTube viewers for the last 365 days. Of course, if you have an organic following and you haven't done it yet, unfortunately, it can't collect data backwards. So you're going to have to start collecting data from that point onwards. So every day that you don't have a custom audience inside of Google collecting your traffic on YouTube, and this goes to the same for Meta, by the way, it's just basically the same thing in the other ads manager. Well, you're losing a lot of money because you're not collecting the data on the people who are watching your videos. So if you haven't done it, do that right now. That's a pro tip that I just gave you in this video. So you create the custom audience. Hopefully you've had it before in the past and you've been working with good marketers, not shitty marketers who haven't set this up for you. You've had this before in the past and you have this fresh audience that's been watching you for the last 6 months to a year that you can go ahead and target with retargeting ads, really cheap ads to get cheap signups for your free live class. Because again, you're sending this to people who know you already. They're not cold. These people know who you are and you're going to send them to this page where they can sign up to your webinar. So that's traffic. I think I've spoken about that. Eyeballs, you send them to the fucking page. Simple. With organic and ads. Now, if you do paid ads cold to the webinar, perhaps you have a $27 ticket price and you go ahead and send them that way. I will probably do another video on paid webinars. I want to do this just generally so you understand the funnel and the common practices, best practices, the best principles that you can go ahead and use for this. So when you have a webinar, you send them to a page here. Now, what does this for like? Let's have a look. The page will have a headline, of course, with the theme of the webinar, the title of the webinar. This shouldn't just be live class line. Let's say you have an agency offer, live class on agency. No, it should be something interesting. It can be proof-based. It can be pain-based. It can be curiosity-based. What works exceptionally well these days, because there's a lot of skepticism in the market and people don't like to waste their time and people have the attention spans of peanuts, is you want to go ahead and use something that leverages some pain and some proof that shows that you are who you say you are. Even if they know you already on YouTube, you can never prove yourself too much to the marketplace. So something like, for example, let's say I were to do a webinar on webinars. I would say the title of the webinar would be how we used our cash injection funnel, which is what we called it, to generate $36,000 in an hour, or $36,000 in an hour, 3 steps on how we did that. Live class on how we did that, or steal my step-by-step process on how we did that, etc. Of course, I'm just coming up with these off the top of my head, but you basically want to come up with something like that. Or how organic info businesses are generating $36K in a single hour using our cash injection funnel. That's beautiful. Something like that. If I were to do a webinar on webinars, I would do that. You could also do pain-based, or you could do reverse kind of, you flip something that they typically understand. So what does that mean? That means this. You could do how we generated $36,000 in 1 hour without sales calls, or how we added $36,000 a month to our info businesses without hiring an extra setter, or without sales teams, without whatever, without a pain or a struggle or a common conception that people have about how to do things. That's the headline, okay? Super important. Then you get into your application. Now, what does this look like? You're going to have either, you could do an image, and then you have your kind of application here. Or you can alternatively do So here's the headline. A video. What are the pros and cons? The image will have video. It's easier to understand. The information is more easily digestible. You may have less people clicking off the page. You may have more people applying. The video can give more context, however. You need to test. You need to see for your audience what works best. Sometimes images work better, sometimes videos work better. Or give school Russell Brunson kind of knowledge will tell you to only use an image. That doesn't always work. That's not always necessarily the case. Videos can work better. Keep this simple though. You keep this simple. This is not a VSL to get people to book a call where you have to add friction to the funnel and make sure you're getting the right people through necessarily. A webinar, whether you have 2 people on it or 2,000 people on it, you are delivering it the same. So your goal is to get as many people as possible. Now that comes with a nuance of how you funnel these people through, which I will now tell you. But people do that, understand that your goal is to get as many people through as possible. So keep it simple. Name, email. If you add phone number, keep this in mind, you will more than likely get a higher uptick in drop-offs. I believe you get a 30% higher kind of click-through of people who will go through your funnel if you don't have phone number, or maybe 20%, something in that range. The numbers are slipping on the top of my head. But again, it comes at certain advantages and disadvantages. If you collect the phone number, that is useful because you can follow leads much easier, and you can send them SMS reminders, which will get them to show up at a higher clip. So I would actually add the phone number here as well. So I'm from the UK, so I'm just putting +44. But effectively you have name, email, phone number. That is an absolute misspelling of the word email. So, and then the kind of apply button. This would be shorter, so it obviously it looks nicer. But then they go ahead and they click here. My God. Anyway, so they click there. What you can do, and I would say especially if you're running paid ads, you can do a super ninja trick, which is that you could have a qualifying question. So a question to see, who's in your offer. Maybe your offer is high ticket, especially if you're selling high ticket. Maybe you want to qualify the people. And if you're running ads, you want to be making sure you're getting the right people through the funnel. You don't want to be bringing a bunch of brokies through the funnel. So to make sure you avoid getting shitters through the funnel, what you can always do is you can ask one question on the application that will act as a identifier to see who's a shitter and who's a good lead. So maybe that's a revenue goal. Maybe that's how much you're spending on ads. Maybe that's, how much they have disposable, although that is a pretty, you want to be subtle about this. You don't want to just put your sorry for my language, but you don't want to just slap your thing out on the table. You want to be kind of subtle about this and how you ask so that they don't feel like they're just being sold to. You're just asking for more information on them. Maybe it's, do you run a business? Depending on your offer. You want to have a question to identify, are they a good fit for your offer, or may they not be a good fit for your offer? I can't give you all the source in this video. But if you work with us, we might be able to do that for you. Well, we will be able to do that for you if you work with us. But again, we only work with certain people who we can make a lot of money, and you'll make a lot of money. So you need to be a specific brand already doing around 20 to 50K a month. And if that is interesting to you, just DM me on Instagram. Anywho, so you have this. And then if you have that question, what you can do is, it's basically, you want to think about it as a qualifier question. You have some people that qualify. You have some people that are not qualified. All you do, you still bring them onto the webinar because you never know. But all you do is you duplicate the confirmation page. This one, so this is the confirmation page. This one is the confirmation page as well. This one, you add a pixel on it. This one, you do not add a pixel on it. Why do you do that? Because this, you can condition your pixel to get you the right people through the webinar. Okay? So here's what I mean. The pixel, if you don't know, if you're a complete noob to advertising, pixel is basically the advertising platform's way of understanding who or when someone is looking at the page and who is looking at a page, etc. So when you're pixeling your pages, because this will allow you to retarget your audiences. So if you put a pixel, which basically says to your advertising, to the advertising platforms, collect the data of the people looking at this page so that I get your specific audience ads, okay? What you do is you have a pixel on this page that just catches website viewers, but then you have a standard event, which basically is the advertiser platform way of understanding that something has taken place, a significant event has taken place. Here would be complete registration of the to the webinar. So the advertising platform, Meta or Google, will understand. And again, this is whether you run cold ads or not to get traffic. Because if you have warm audience and warm traffic only, you should still collect this information because it will allow you to retarget them with really cheap ads. Okay? So you're basically telling Meta, which is storing all the data on your customers, that people have landed on the page. So there is a pixel here. Then once they fill out the application, you have the pixel, you have the standard event for complete registration once they are qualified. If they're not qualified, they still get a confirmation, they still get invited to the webinar, but there's no pixel here. So you don't show Meta how basically that these people came through the funnel. You basically show Meta that these people came through the funnel. Why is that important? Because when you run more ads, whether it's lookalike audience ads to a cold audience or whether you run retargeting ads, you can tell Meta, I want more of these people who, let's say they run a business or they have a certain amount in ad spend or they have a certain amount of employees or they have a certain amount of expertise. You want more of these people, and that way your advertising platform can hone in on who you're getting through your funnel, and they won't send you more of these shitters. So this will improve ad costs in the future. So we just went down a tangent of basically how to condition your pixel and do all that, but that's where we're at. So your traffic goes to your application page. Your application page has an image, headline, video, headline, test, which one works better, and then an application. Also, I should mention, you want to have proof, as much proof as you can to show your audience that you know what you're talking about, so you can increase the application of or the application rate. Cool. Once we have that, they are sent to a confirmation page. Now a lot of things go down because now your goal is this. Here, your goal is to increase the registration rate, if you will. Now, once they've registered, your goal is to get them to show up, because the more people you can get to show up, the more money you will make. Because at scale, your conversion rate will effectively be the same. Whether it's good or it's bad, it will be the same. But your show up rate will be a massive player. Why? Because let's talk about the show up rate. Show up rate. If we do the maths and we have a look at this, let's say 1,000 people register for your webinar. Then let's say you have so let's say this is example. Let's delete this for a second. Let's say example A. My God. There we go. Business A. And then business B. A gets 1,000 people registered. A then gets, let's say, 20 people to show up. Sorry, not 20, 200. That is a 20% show up rate. And then A converts another 20% of the people on the webinar. You will then have 40 sales. And then let's assume a $1,000 product. You will make $40,000. Let's run this example here. Business B gets the same 1,000 to sign up, but business B now gets a, let's call it 40% close rate, just for easy maths, or 40% show up rate, which is pretty good for a webinar. Then you get 400 people to show up with the same 20% close rate. You now have 80 sales. making $80,000 from the same presentation, from the same live event. You double your money. You double your show up rate, you double your money. So you need to work on your show up rate and make sure you have a really, really solid one. So that as soon as they apply, as soon as they opt in, as soon as they enter your ecosystem, you've caught them and they're coming to that webinar no matter what you do. How do you do that? Here's how you do that. So they apply. Let's zoom in here really big. Okay. So they apply. Okay. Let's just make this smaller. How do we do that? No, we can't. We're super zoomed in. All right. They apply. Then the first thing they get is email sequences. I'm just going to do a list. Maybe it's easier. Number 1, email sequences. So they should be getting a lot of emails. Where you give them sales assets, you give them information on your business, you give them information on the webinar, you give them kind of proof, what they can expect, things that are going to make them excited to show up. Because here's the thing, let's say you start promoting the webinar 2 weeks out, right? So you're 2 weeks to the webinar and someone sees it, they register, it adds to their calendar, they're happy. Amazing. But then after a few days, they kind of forget, there's that thing coming up. Okay, cool. And then after, maybe a week, they're like, oh, yeah, okay, but there's XYZ things that came up. A lot of things now happening. There's work, there's the baby, there's that baby mama, there's this, there's that, there's this, there's that. And then come to the webinar, they're just like, either they'll freaking forget about it and forget about you because you're, again, irrelevant to their life. I mean, you're the main character in your life, but in their life, you're irrelevant. Or they might remember, but then they'll be like, there's more important things to in their life, and I'll probably want to show up. And then they don't show up. So what do? The email sequences, you want to nurture them. You want to nurture these leads to make sure that they do come. Same thing for SMS, by the way. I'll talk about that in a second. Now, with email sequences, you want to progressively increase the cadence at which you email them. What do I mean by that? You have the time. Actually, there's a better way of doing this. You have the time, right? So this is just like 14 days out, and this is the webinar. You're going to start by sending you're going to have, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to maybe start by sending 1 email every 2 days, just reminding them that the webinar is coming up. Then once you get to day 7, you're going to start gradually increasing the cadence at which you send them emails. You might send them 1 a day for a few days, reminding them, hyping them up, giving them value, giving them information, answering questions that they may have about your offer, handling objections, telling your story, nurturing these leads. Then 72 hours before the webinar, the magic happens. You increase the cadence at which they will receive emails. Go up to maybe 2 emails, 72 hours out. And 3 emails, maybe even 4 emails on day 2. And then finally on the last day, you're sending about 5 emails, 5 to 6 emails a day in the last 3 to 72 hours, getting them to come. Whether that's reminders, whether that's, again, you can send them reminders, you can send them proof, you can send them case studies, videos. Don't just send them bullshit. Like, don't make them feel like they're getting spammed. Give them valuable stuff that was going to answer their questions. Whether that's showing them how other people achieved what you achieved in what you're going to teach in the webinar, showing them how, answering some of their questions, maybe overcoming objections, pre-handling objections. And in these emails, you can either give them written content or you can send them really short videos that they can watch, or longer form YouTube videos as well that you've already made on the channel that you think could be useful for them. Why this is so important. Not only is this process so important to keep yourself front of mind in their heads, it's also important to nurture them, because there's all kinds of people in your audience, okay? there's going to be people who are maybe have heard of you. So they are, or no awareness. They've never heard of you. They've heard of you. You're going to have people who have heard of your products, let's say, heard of offers. You're going to have people who watch you regularly. And then you're going to have here your customers. So obviously down here, there's more money. Here, there's no money. What you want to do in this process, by the time they sign up for the webinar, to the time they get to the webinar, is you want to get them as fast as possible down to the point where they are ready to give you their money. And people give you their money when they know, like, and trust you. So you want to give them stories about you and to show some relatability. You want them to get, you want them to like you. You send them videos on YouTube so they can spend time with you, because we like people who we spend time with. You want them to trust you. You show them case studies of other people you've helped, case studies of yourself, X, Y, and Z. And you want to bridge the gap and bring them as close as you can. And that's why this process is so important. Because when they come to the webinar, they're not just like, oh yeah, I've seen this guy, I'm going to join the class. They're like, I've seen this guy, I'm going to join the class. Oh, I didn't know this about him. I didn't know he was so good at this. Oh, this is how this happened. Oh, wow, maybe I can do this too. Oh, maybe I should do. And by the time they come to the webinar, they are ready to give you their money. So not only, process, increasing the amount of money that you get because of the close rate. Also going to increase the show rate. You're going to increase the show rate because they're going to be excited to come because they've been in touch with you for the last 2 weeks. This also refers to your SMS. So number 1 is email sequences. Number 2 is SMS. You're going to send them, you can either do WhatsApp API through things like ManyChat, or you can do SMS through Twilio or Go High Level or anything like that. You should be sending them things on SMS. You shouldn't spam people too much on SMS. Chat, I would send more reminders through here, but you can send occasional case studies and things like that through your SMS that can help them as well, kind of get an understanding of you and your business. The third way you can do this is by doing retargeting ads. So what you do is you set up a campaign, or you set up an audience rather, for people who have applied and have gone through the registration process. And as long as you have more than 100 people, so you need more than 100 people, you can go ahead and send them retargeting videos with the only purpose being to indoctrinate them effectively, to brainwash them, basically propaganda. And this is something that I've learned from Jeremy Haynes, so full credit to him for this kind of strategy, which is that you can use cheap retargeting ads. You can spend between $5 to $10 a day, making sure you get around 20 to 50, you can do pieces of content to this audience of people who have signed up. If you have more people who have signed up, maybe in the thousands, you need to increase the budget. And what's more important than anything else is the frequency. So the frequency, meaning how many times people see, the average frequency, how many times the average person sees a video, you want the frequency to be above 10. I know Jeremy, who I've seen pioneered this strategy, recommends about 15. So around 15 times people should see the videos in your campaign. So you need a lot of videos to be able to do that with. And then you need a high frequency on the campaign. So you can go ahead and basically indoctrinate and brainwash these people into being ready. So you will send these sales assets through your email sequences, through a bit of SMS. SMS are more for reminders though. And then these retargeting ads that you can do as well. This is going to massively increase your show rate, and this is going to massively increase your close rate as well, because they will be indoctrinated by the time they come to the webinar. Okay? So, another tip to increase your application rate that I forgot to mention with ads is you should also have a pixel here on this page, as I mentioned. And you use retargeting ads there will be a percentage of people who do not sign up. You should be getting, if it's free webinar, at least 75% of people who get to the page should be signing up. If you can't get around 70% people to show up, you pixel this page and let's say they leave, you target them with retargeting ads using this pixel, and you bring them back, and you basically have this flywheel of you send people to the page, they click off, you bring them back until they sign up. Okay? Cool. Then you have the confirmation page. During the confirmation period, after that, you get them to add it to their calendar. You do email sequences, you do SMS, you do retargeting ads. We've already spoke about all that. Then what else do you do? What's next? Then you send them to the webinar. Now, the webinar in itself is a whole different beast on how to script a webinar and how to do a webinar. Now, we're already 36 minutes into this video, but I'll give you some pro tips here. So, webinars. How to script them. Webinars are an interesting piece of the puzzle. I would, if I were you, if you want to read on webinars and read in more in-depth detail and guide on how to script them, read One to Many by Jason Fladlien. He is the GOAT on webinars. He's the guy who does Iman Gadzhi's webinars, Alex Hormozi's webinars. He's done, I think, over $100 million using webinars. He's the good. So watch him or read him. Read his book. He's got a book called One to Many that goes through everything. But a few things you want to think about here. With the webinar, you have to understand that the webinar is a fine line between a live class and a sales pitch, where you want to be giving people information, but you don't want them to have so much information that they can go ahead and do it on their own. Like, you don't want to just do the give for free, give as much as you can for free, and then expect that they pay you approach. You want to give them enough information that makes them feel like they can do it on their own, that they can go ahead and apply this, and they can go ahead and they know what they need to do. But you don't want to give them so much that they will just go ahead and do it without you. It's almost like a strange seduction play, where you manipulate them into thinking that they're in control, but they're actually not. How do you do that? So, main principles. You tell them what, not how. They're in control. So, instead of telling them how to do things, you tell them what to go ahead and do. For instance, let's say you have an offer that teaches people how to, how to start an agency, right? You will show, or actually, better example. Let's say you have an offer teaching people webinars, how to install webinars into their business, like this video is. You tell them what, not how. So I've told you here throughout this process what to do, but I haven't exactly told you the nitty-gritty of how to do it. First, because that source is kept for our clients, so a lot of that is our secret sauce. But again, the what is really good, because the what is good enough to understand what you're doing. It's good enough to go ahead and maybe apply it, maybe make some good progress with it. But you're going to have some questions. How do I set up the pixel? How do I set up my audiences? What do I actually say on the application? These are all questions that are reserved for our clients, because these are the people that we work with. And if we can't do done for you, by the way, we can always do a consulting deal where we give you all the source anyway. So what, not how. Tell them what. If you teach people how to, let's say you teach a manifestation offer, which is something that we've done quite abstract, but I think it will exercise the point really well. You teach them what they have to achieve, whether that's improving their focus, whether that's learning how to visualize, whether that's, whatever it is. But you don't tell them how to do it. You don't tell them the exact techniques that they need to do. You tell them what? You tell them the principles, overarching, the macro level of why it's important. What? Why is a really good one. When is a really good one in terms of the questions, the buckets of questions that you want to be answering. You just don't want to tell them how. And the how is what you frame at the end. because there's only so much you can do in a 1 hour presentation. Wink. There's only so much you can teach them. And so therefore, with everything that you've taught them, if they now want to take things to the next level, they want to understand what you teach them, or they want to just get it, plug and played, blueprint for them, and you can do it for them, whether it's a done for you service or whether it's an info product, and they want everything that they can just copy it. You will teach them how in the program, in the thing you're selling. So at this point, they will understand why it's important. They will understand what they need to do. They'll understand when they need to do it potentially, but they won't know how to do it. It's a weird seduction game. That's what sales is. It's strangely manipulative. So how do you structure a webinar? One thing that I learned from Jason Fladley, which I recommend you should also do, is when you first start the webinar, you have the hook portion, like with any piece of content. At the end of the day, the webinar is just a 1 hour piece of content. You have the hook portion, which in this case will be the first 1 to 5 minutes. You have the, I guess you could say, story of you. Then you go into, at any point, you're sprinkling kind of case studies into this, making them believe that they can do it too, which they should be able to. I mean, if you're setting an offer that they can't do, then you're a bit of a scum. But you want to make sure that people you're showing your results that you've gotten for other people. Case studies. Then you want to go into 3 buckets, effectively, of value. Your process. You walk them through what they need to do. And then, of course, you can dive into a little bit. You give them a little bit of sauce on each one of them so they feel like they've gotten some value. Again, sprinkle some case studies in there at the end. And then you have the pitch at the end. This is a very, by the way, abridged version, kind of webinar 101 for you. So the hook. How do we do the hook? 2 things that are really important for the hook. A is proof, and B is pre-handling objections. Why? Because when they first join the webinar, they're going to be skeptical. Even after everything that we've done with the marketing strategies to get them to show up and to get them to be excited and to get them to handle objections already beforehand, they will feel somewhat skeptical, and you need to hook their attention, because nothing is given in this world. You constantly need to be fighting feel, expects attention. So your hook is this. You always start with some proof. Well, maybe it's a screenshot of a Stripe screenshot, or maybe it's something else that shows that you are capable of doing what you do. And we're going to get straight into the webinar. So when they're sitting there waiting for the webinar to start, you have, let's say, your Stripe screenshot, or you have something that shows your proof, a curious image that will get them to look. Then the first one, first few slides, you're going to say, I want to play a game with you guys. I want to do a quick true or false. And I want you guys to answer in the chat for me. Does that sound good? They'll say yes. Why? You want to interact them into the process. You want to make them feel involved. You want to make this feel like this is a whole thing for everyone. This is not just you talking to them and they're just listening. They are interacting. Why? Reciprocity. If they are or not reciprocity, but I forget the name of the kind of psychological cue that I'm thinking about. But if they are involved with you in this process, then when you make them an ask at the end, it's cue about. If they comply with you for 1, 2, 3, 4 things, even if it's small, even if it's just typing yes or no in the chat, when it comes to the end and you ask them for money to put in their credit card, they are far more likely to go ahead and do it because they've been complying with you. This is a small psychological cue, a small psychological trigger, but it is incredibly, incredibly powerful. So you said, play a game with you guys. What is that game? That game is, we're going to do a quick true or false, okay? You're going to do 5 true or false questions. And the true or false questions must be about common objections. For example, let's say I was hosting a marketing done with you service, right? And I was saying that I teach people how to monetize their skills and their information into money. Monetize their skills and information into like an online course and make money from that. The first objection that everyone will be thinking is, I need a big audience for that. And let's say I want to overcome that objection. Question number one will be, true or false? You need a big audience to monetize your knowledge and information, or knowledge and skills, into an info product. Yes or no? They'll put in the chat, yes, no, I'm a brokey. No. Oh, I don't need a big audience? I don't have a big audience. So you mean I can do this too? That's what they're going to be thinking. Second, what's another objection you have? You just think of them. I need a lot of time to start my online info business. True or false? You need a lot of time. Or true or false? You need to have, you need a lot of time to be able to start your online info business, because a lot of people are going to be working jobs at university, whatever. They're going to be like, oh, yes, I need a lot of time. You can be like, no, we've had students succeed with just 2 hours a day. So you do not need, what you need to understand before we get into this live class, because what I'm going to teach you is going to be absolutely transformational, is you need to understand that you can do this too. And you do not need a lot of time. If you have 1 hour a day, you can do this as well. Something like that. And those 5 questions are going to be questions that overcome those objections and common questions that hold people back from basically starting with you. And that's basically it. 5 questions, 3 to 5 questions. And then at the end, they'll get the hang of it. Oh, no, okay, and then they'll understand that they can go ahead and do this. So you've already broken some barriers here. Then you go into your story. Okay. The whole point of this is to give them context, because people relate to stories much more than they do to promises. So proof of a promise. If you tell, and people also understand concepts much more through stories, as opposed to just telling them. So what you can do is, by telling the story of how you got started in that business model or in that thing that you're teaching them, whatever you tell may be, they will be able to relate that to their own life, and they'll be able to find a way, and they'll be more convinced by the fact that they can do it too. The other thing is likability. Again, we want them to know, like, and trust us. So we want them to know us, like us, and then also in there should be some proof so they can trust us. Then you will pivot into, and that's not just me. I've helped other people do this as well. And then you walk through some case studies of other people who've done this too. And then you'll be like, and you want to spam them, as many case studies as you can. And you'll be like, look, I get the point. You probably understand now that you could do this. But the reason I'm showing you the successes that other people have had is simply because I want you to understand that you can do it too. Now that you've seen David and Emily and this and this and this succeed, do you believe that you can do it too? Please put that in the chat, yes or no. The whole time you want them to understand, you want them to believe that to admit that they can do it too. Then you go into 3 buckets. These are, again, 3 whats, 3 big overarching buckets about your offer. What's 1, what, 2, what, 3. Let's say that is, if you're, again, doing this thing about teaching people how to start their online education business, which are people that, which is what we, I have a friend who runs that offer, does about 200K a month with it. How to start their own online education businesses from their home, even without a big audience. The number 1 what may be, I don't know I've never made videos before. I don't know how to make videos. I can't make videos. You show them that how easy it is to come up with ideas, how easy it is for them to do it as well, that they don't need a lot of fancy gear and a lot of fancy stuff. What's number 2 is, again, another one. So let's say in this situation, it will be how to convert these people, how to get a lot of views. I don't think I can get a lot of views. You show them that maybe you don't need a lot of views. How can you, convert these people into sales appointments, into book calls, so that you can sell them into your high ticket product? And then what 3 will be, let's say, how to scale your education business. Oh, I can't do one-to-one forever. I can't take 100 people one-to-one. And then again, you show them basically the overarching theme of what you do, the main pillars of what you do. You just don't show them how you do it. You give them a little bit, but you don't give them the whole picture. You can tell them obviously how to some extent, but you show them 30% or 10% even, not 100%. And then again, you want to reinforce with case studies throughout this whole thing. At every stage, every what, you add in a case study. And this is how this person did this. And this is how this person did this. And this is how this person did this. And then case studies at the end. And then the pitch. You want to go, you basically want to go from the case studies to say, okay, now after this 1 hour live class of learning how you do this, you probably feel pretty confident. You probably feel pretty good about yourself. And that you can go ahead and do this. Now there's two paths. You can either go ahead and do this on your own, which I've given you enough information to do. Whether you have or you haven't is besides the point. Which you want to be ethical about this, of course. Which I've given you enough information to do. You can probably go ahead and do this together. But every great entrepreneur understands one thing. Again, this applies if you're doing a business together. If you're doing something else, just apply it to this. But no matter what you end up doing, you will always end up paying. You'll either pay in money or you'll pay in time. And every good entrepreneur understands that you can. They say you can't buy time, but you actually can. You can buy time by learning from other people your mistakes, by getting support of people that can help you get there quicker. And so if you want to go ahead and do this on your own, that's cool. You can go ahead and do that with the information that I've taught you in this video. But that being said, if you're also like me and you understand that you can go ahead and buy time and massively increase your chance of success, then I have something for you. Would it be okay if I share it with you? Then they'll be like, yes, please share it with me. In the chat, obviously. And then they're not just hiding in your room, I hope. And then you would go ahead and make your pitch and make your offer. Maybe you have a promotion of some kind, maybe something to get them to buy in that time. If you're pitching high ticket, then you can, of course, go ahead and pitch to a call instead of a straight to the checkout page. So now that the webinar is done, they'll go to the checkout page, and then some of them will buy, some of them won't buy, which is why you should also have a pixel on the checkout page and retarget those people. If you don't have a pixel on the checkout page, that's fine. Or rather, if you don't have a checkout page and instead you have a call book page, then again, you want to send those people to book a call, pixel that page. That way, if they don't book a call, you can send them retargeting ads and bring them back to make sure they do book a call with your team. And then at this point, they will buy, and then they will become to make sure, and you'll have money and you'll be happy. But now you'll be stressed because you have more things to deliver on the back end, but you'll be happy because you have money in your account. And you have just taken the cash injection funnel, legally printed money with it, and gotten a crap ton more money into your business. And now you can repeat this process every 2 weeks, every month. If you're a real sicko, you have enough traffic coming through the funnel. Maybe you're doing paid webinars. You can do it every week. But that's the story. That's the story in Balamory. That's a pretty niche reference if you're here in the UK. But that's how you print money legally with webinars. If you want help, then I seriously encourage you checking out more of my videos. And if you want more direct help, you can go ahead and DM me on Instagram, and we can see if I can help you. Or as a matter of fact, my funnel may be ready. So you may be able to go check out the funnel. But anyway, it'll be somewhere in the description. If there is no funnel, just DM me on Instagram. And go ahead and watch other of my videos. I do in-depth breakdowns on how to help info businesses get to 100K a month and beyond. So if you want any help with that, I have plenty of videos here on the channel. Subscribe, like, whatever, put the notification bell. Hope I can help in the future. And we'll speak soon. Take care. Peace.